That chatter about the TwitchCon situation is out of control. Last week, a thirsty fanboy rushed the stage at TwitchCon in San Diego and attempted to hug and kiss the popular streamer and queen of the weeaboos, Emiru. First off, gross. She's not your waifu. Second, see that guy? That's Emiru's personal bodyguard. Twitch's security team is nowhere to be seen. Her assailant was simply escorted out of the convention hall, and according to Emiru, Twitch did nothing further until her manager raised hell.
Oh, the Atlas game is a gooning game,
Now, just in case you're not familiar with the fandom behind female streamers like Emiru and the intensity of the parasocial relationship, think of it like a modern Beatlemania. But with dudes in their 30s. It can get intensely scary. So predictably, the internet blew up with the overconfident legal hot takes regarding the civil and criminal liabilities from this breach of security.
Twitch is officially finished. At their convention, they essentially served up their top stream.
Oh my god, decoy voice, dude. Listen, decoy voice is 100% a very apt fitting name for this guy. All this guy does is fake his voice. He fakes his voice. He does the growl thing, and he lowers the settings on his fucking microphone like a fucking right-wing grifter. Like, this guy is such a loser, dude. Such a loser right-wing grifter. And Asmongold is such a loser for constantly propping this guy up. Yeah, this guy is such a loser fucking right-winger. Oh my god. Like, these two are just like some of the most heinous people on the entire internet. You know of this guy? Yeah, of course. When I was covering Asmongold religiously, yeah, this decoy voice guy is someone that he watches all the fucking time to prop up his stupid fucking retarded ideas. Oh my god. Like, these people like make me upset, okay? Yeah. That's why I kind of stopped covering them all that much, because I'm like, these guys just piss me off. But like, for example, like the way that he talks here.
Joy Predator.
There's a lot I want to talk.
Like, the way that he talks is like,
yo, if I really started to talk like this, isn't the lefties the people who are always trying to trip over themselves and constantly try to make things worse while saying that they are trying to make things better? But of course, as we can see them on the streets, they're always constantly fucking tripping over. Oh my god, I think I'm good.
Talk about here after seeing what happened at TwitchCon last night, which is textbook assault.
One of the most popular streamers, Emiru, was sexually assaulted.
Most of these takes are flat out wrong, or at least woefully incomplete. So who's really on the hook here for this awful situation, and what charges could they face?
Shut up.
My job as a lawyer, but more specifically as a prosecutor, is to follow the facts to the most reasonable conclusion. So today, I'm going to break down what we know about the TwitchCon situation, explain how a prosecutor or a plaintiff's attorney would approach bringing the liable parties to justice in this case, and who should be the most concerned about lawyering up. So everybody just calm down, and let's sort out the TwitchCon drama before it gets any uglier.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing.
After the streamer Shen Antigens released the video of the assault on Twitter, it amassed millions of views. It prompted TwitchCon to put out a statement proclaiming that they had immediately blocked this individual from returning to the TwitchCon premises.
You know, I wish that dudes would have more things that they could expand on in terms of aesthetic and fashion, because I feel like they're always like constantly limited in the way that they express themselves. It's like constantly the shit like with, oh, it's we can't wear makeup because that's for women. Oh, we can't wear any long flowy clothes because that's for women. Oh, we can't dye our hair because generally that's for women. We're just gonna put on a nice shirt and some slacks. It's just, oh my god, dude.
And they are banned indefinitely from Twitch. And that the safety and security of all those attending TwitchCon is our highest priority. But Emiru...
So instead of improving on makeup skills and hiding blemishes or trying to improve on anything else, instead they lowered the microphone settings and they put on this fake Alex Jones growling voice. It's so cringe.
Wasn't buying it and posted a scathing response on Twitter. According to her statement, a similar incident occurred the previous year. A stalker was harassing her, compelling her bodyguard to grab his arm and forcefully bring him to law enforcement. Twitch's response to the incident was to ban her go-to bodyguard.
There was a stalker and he held him by the arm until police got there. And because of that, he was indefinitely banned from TwitchCon.
She goes on to place a lot of blame on Twitch for failing to protect her, especially because there were several TwitchCon security guards nearby who did nothing to help her when the incident occurred. These are facts that do not seem to reflect an organization that truly places safety and security as its highest priority. Further, according to Emiru and the video evidence, the man was just allowed to walk away.
The behavior displayed by the individual involved in the incident yesterday with...
To be fair, is the person... You can't stop them, can you? Like, I'm pretty sure you can't stop them, no? Like, you can't really stop the person in their tracks unless you are a public servant like a cop, right? Like a authoritative person who is allowed to physically stop somebody. As a security person, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to, right?
Involving a high-profile streamer was completely unacceptable and deeply unsettling. In line with existing TwitchCon security protocols, law enforcement event security were on site. That's a lie. That's literally a lie.
She said she only heard about him being detained hours later and that TwitchCon only apprehended him because her manager pushed for it.
They're trying to find...
I will say there should have been a cop on site. I will say there should have been a cop on site, in my opinion, sure. But
the guy, they haven't found him.
You can't citizen arrest? What?
I'm like, what?
She claims to have learned that Twitch was only going to give the attacker a 30-day ban from using the site, that is, until her manager objected to the anemic punishment. And then a few days later, Emiru issued another statement, telling her viewers that she'd talked to the police and they were working on a warrant, but were being stymied by Twitch's failure to cooperate with them.
When I got a phone call from the San Diego police, and they were talking to me, and they basically said, hey,
I don't know anything about citizen arrest.
We can't really do anything right now because they apparently know the name of the guy, but they're not giving it to us until a warrant goes through.
Now, we'll talk about Twitch and the liability that they may face in a moment, but plenty of other influential streamers echoed Emiru's alarm bells against TwitchCon's lax security, including the VTuber Iron Mouse.
How many times does bad have to happen in order for people to start taking...
Bro, we live in a fucking dystopia, dude. We live in an episode of Black Mirror, but we're just so used to... We're just so used to this. We're so used. We're just so used to this. We have a VTuber who's advocating on the behalf of a neat girl about sexual assault charges and allegations off of, like, bro...
Taking it seriously.
It's crazy.
And start waking the
We live in
fuck
such a
and
crazy
start
time.
Protecting people and start offering better security for people. What if that was your sister? What if that was somebody from your family? Imagine the person you care about the most going through that.
Because, like,
if you don't know why it matters that Iron Mouse is calling TwitchCon unsafe for creators,
what
then
the fuck?
Good for you. You know the touch of grass. But for the rest of you men of culture, you know that VTubers and three-dimensional streamers...
Oh my god, please. Don't ever say men of culture ever again. You are 40, okay? You are 40. You are a 40-year-old lawyer, okay? Never ever say men of culture ever again. Please, act your age.
alike have a reasonable expectation that Twitch will protect their identity and ensure a reasonable level of safety from all the degenerates in chat. These are the most critical factors for them to do their jobs as entertainers. So Twitch is not off the hook here, but the extent of their liability depends a lot on what a thorough fact-finding investigation discovers about the TwitchCon situation and what crimes or civil torts Emiru's assailant actually committed, which are not as straightforward as the internet would have you believe.
Sorry to interrupt, Scout Owl, but assault by a toxic parasocial fan is a great reminder that now's probably a good time to wipe all your personal and private information off of the internet. Because your cell phone number, home address, email address, private social media accounts, and tons of other sensitive data are shockingly easy to purchase by anyone online. But you can fight back and take control of your private information by signing up for today's sponsor, Incogni. Because Incogni wipes your...
Okay, I'm gonna buy 2 new colors for icon decks, okay? On God.
Personal data from the internet by searching online, reaching out to data brokers and websites directly on your behalf, and forcing them to remove your private information. If they resist, Incogni will take care of that too, because Incogni fights back. But what makes Incogni truly powerful in taking back control of your privacy is their custom removals feature. It allows you to flag an unlimited number of sites where your data is exposed, and you can even have Incogni's privacy experts review and tackle the most uncooperative data brokers and people's search sites. Now, I've been using Incogni for years now, and in that time you can see I've been on hundreds of lists, some of which had a high sensitivity score, meaning the broker had tons of data on me. Luckily, Incogni has completed hundreds of takedowns for me in that time. Now, I could never do this myself, so thank you to Incogni for weeks worth of work in adding me to over 40 suppression lists. And Incogni will continue to conduct ongoing removals, because even if the broker removes your data once, they can collect it and publish it again. So if online privacy is important to you, give Incogni a try. If you scan the code on screen or click on the link in the description, you'll get 60% off their unlimited annual plan, or try Incogni risk-free for 30 days, and if you decide you still want to keep it, you'll still get these 60% off discounts as long as you use my code LegalEagle, all one word, at checkout. So sign up for Incogni, or I'll see you in court.
Okay, let's watch the clip again, paying special attention to what the guy does and when. Emiru alleges that in this moment, Thirsty McThirstface here tries to kiss her. The internet was quick to proclaim this as sexual assault. And this is totally understandable. If a random guy charges forward, grabs you, and tries to forcibly kiss you, that really seems like sexual assault, and in some ways it is. The problem, though, is that California's statute on sexual assault is pretty specific. California uses the common law term battery to refer to an assault that results in some form of touching. So California's sexual assault criminal statute is actually titled sexual battery. California Penal Code section 243.4 subsection E1 states the following. Any person who touches an intimate part of another person, if the touching is against the will of the person touched and is for the specific purpose of sexual arousal, sexual gratification, or sexual abuse, is guilty of misdemeanor sexual battery, punishable by a fine not exceeding $2,000 or by imprisonment in a county jail not exceeding 6 months or by that fine and imprisonment. Now, 6 months in jail or a $2,000 fine seems pretty insufficient for sexual battery, but that's not the only problem here. Under California law, the attacker has to touch an intimate part of the person. And the law defines intimate part very narrowly, as the sexual organ, anus, groin, or buttocks of any person, and the breast of a female. In her statement after the fact,
he only went for the lips, right? Not the lips, but like the neck, I think. He went for the necks, right? Neck, I think, right? Do you see Mizkif docs Asmongold in the lawsuit he filed against him, Emiru and OTK? I saw the paper, I skimmed it.
Emiru said,
and then he grabs my face and he leans in and lips puckered and tries to kiss me. True. And I start screaming.
From the angle of the video, it's hard to tell where the attacker's hands were, but since Emiru didn't mention that he touched her anywhere but her face, we're going to assume that that's the only place he touched her. So he grabbed her face and tried to kiss her. Does that qualify as sexual battery? Well, under California law, an attempted forcible kiss wouldn't qualify as sexual battery because the attacker has to touch an intimate part of another person. In fact, even if the attacker had managed to kiss her, it may not qualify as sexual battery because lips and faces aren't included as intimate parts of the body under section 243.4. His actions were offensive, threatening, and unacceptable, but because of the technicalities of California's law, he likely won't be liable for sexual battery or attempted sexual battery. It's important to note that sexual assault laws are really jurisdictionally specific. Soccer, or football, fans may recall that a few years ago, the head of Spain's National Soccer Federation forcibly kissed a member of the women's soccer team after their World Cup victory.
Rubiales kissing Hermoso on the lips, a kiss, she said, that was not welcome. The Federation chief brushing off initial questioning about the advance.
He was later convicted of sexual assault by Spain's High Court. So if TwitchCon had been held in a different state or country, Emiru's attacker potentially could be charged with sexual assault or an attempt to do the same. But this happened in California, and that's that. Gross. For what it's worth, prosecutors probably wouldn't have a hard time convincing a jury his actions were principally motivated for the purposes of sexual arousal. Sure, he could always argue that he was just so enamored with Emiru's wholesomeness that his cringy kiss attempt was nothing more than G-rated affection. A type of I did it for the mouais offense. But come on, that doesn't pass the smell test. Again, if you don't know what that word means, good for you. But what about non-sexual assault and battery? Well, our favorite Florida man and de facto Jesus of the internet had this to say.
There's a lot I want to talk about here after seeing what happened at TwitchCon last night with Emiru being assaulted by a rogue lunatic fan who just walked completely unimpeded past the line at her meet and greet and unconsensually hugged her and looked like tried to kiss her, which is textbook assault.
So is this textbook assault? Is this battery? Again, under common law, assault is generally the attempt to touch someone, and battery is the actual touch. California Penal Code Section 240 defines assault as an unlawful attempt coupled with a present ability to commit a violent injury on the person of another. There was clearly an attempt to kiss her, and obviously the attacker had the ability to follow through with that. He was only stopped, belatedly, by Emiru's security guard. But does a forcible kiss qualify as a violent injury? As it turns out, California
you would have to look at precedents, right?
Courts have a long history of agreeing that a forcible kiss does qualify as a violent injury under California's assault law. In a 1907 California
Okay, so it does qualify. Okay, so precedent says yes.
Supreme Court case called People v. Bradbury, the court quoted a criminal justice manual that stated, "The kind of physical force is immaterial. It may consist in the taking of indecent liberties with a woman or laying hold of her and kissing her against her will." Since then, many California courts have affirmed this. A California appeals court found that violent injury doesn't just include bodily harm. It includes any wrongful act committed by means of physical force against the person of another, even though only the feelings of such person are injured by the act. This means that the person who is attacked doesn't have to prove actual physical harm. They just have to show that there was an attempt and ability to cause some kind of harm. So it seems like Emiru has a pretty strong case against her attacker under California's assault law, which carries a maximum penalty of 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. That's a misdemeanor and highly likely not to result in any jail time or minimal jail time. But she also may be able to claim battery. Under California Penal Code Section 242, a battery is any willful and unlawful use of force or violence upon the person of another. This one seems pretty clear-cut. Emiru's attacker forcibly grabbed her body. She may not have been actually physically injured, but the law doesn't require that, just an unlawful use of force. Under California law, battery carries a maximum penalty of 6 months in jail and a $2,000 fine. So,
these are really, I wouldn't say these are light punishments. Just mainly because 6 months in jail, or like any kind of months in jail, or any weeks in jail, like sucks. Like, even 2 weeks in jail will be very debilitating on mental health. 1 week, 2 weeks. Yeah. Like that's, yeah. I think people really underestimate, how mentally debilitating, spending time behind bars truly is. So, yeah.
Not much different than the penalty for assault. Now, before you go on thinking that California doesn't take assault and battery seriously, these statutes are not that different from most jurisdictions, and they simply represent a base level of criminal liability. In any assault or battery case, the factual circumstances can, and often do, enhance the severity of the punishment. A prosecutor likely has a case here, and Emiru has said that she is pressing criminal charges against her attacker.
I am pressing charges against the guy with the police.
So, to get a criminal conviction, the prosecutor will have to show that the attacker is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, which doesn't seem super difficult here since there were dozens of witnesses and the video that you just saw. But Emiru...
like a $300 fine or like 3 days in prison? Okay. I mean, the worst part of that is that it's going to be on your criminal record, so good luck trying to find a job, I guess. Having anything on your criminal record is pretty severe.
Emiru may also be able to pursue a civil lawsuit against her attacker, which would be even easier to win because there's a lower burden of proof. She only needs to show that he's guilty by a preponderance of the evidence that is more likely than not. If Emiru does decide to file a civil suit against her attacker, she can claim actual monetary costs she incurred, like therapy, increased security expenses, legal expenses, disruption of her normal day-to-day activities, etc. But she can also claim punitive damages in a civil suit. That is a certain amount of money she feels entitled to because her attacker did a crime against society itself and ought to be punished for it. And she can also potentially make a claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress. To do that, she'd have to show that her attacker intentionally and...
Oh yeah, we searched this up because it was related to the Pixie lawsuit. So I believe that if you want to show that the attacker has inflicted some amount of emotional or mental distress, it actually has a very high burden of proof for something like that. You would need to show therapist documentation, psychologist documentation, medication documentation, diagnoses that happened after the event has happened, sessions with a therapist or mental health professional that specifically mention or have I don't know, have your therapist write up a legal piece of paper that is like legally acceptable of some kind. So yeah, people generally think like, oh yeah, emotional damage? Oh, you mean your feelings got hurt? No, like actual documented shit by professionals, right? Not, oh, your feelings got hurt. Actual professional diagnoses and professional evaluation of the case. Yeah.
Recklessly did something that caused her to suffer emotional distress. Generally, the person's actions have to be outrageous to meet this threshold, but grabbing and forcibly kissing a stranger sure seems to be outrageous. And Emiru wouldn't be the first female celebrity to file a civil suit against a convention attendee.
Careful. I'm pretty sure Emiru said that it isn't the actress itself that is particularly traumatizing, because she has said that the act itself is bad, but it's not as bad as Twitch trying to like secure their bottom line. I'm pretty sure she said specifically that Twitch trying to make sure they get away with it scot-free by having the security kind of thing happen feels way worse for her. Yeah. I mean, the video of her having her voice be kind of shaky and her like seemingly a little bit shook or something like that probably should not count for evidence in terms of emotional instability. That probably doesn't count. Like, what you actually need to show is documentation. But yeah.
Who broke the rules. During a 2013 meet and greet, DJ David Mueller groped Taylor Swift's backside. When Taylor complained and he was fired from his job, he sued her for defamation. She countersued him for assault and won a jury trial, which proved that unwanted touching is indeed assault. So if you're the creepy Twitch guy and you're watching this, you need to lawyer up ASAP, because you're likely to face 2 separate cases, one criminal, one civil. And frankly,
time to get Saul Goodman. Good luck.
The lawyers on the other side are better than you can afford. But maybe you can ask your mom for some cash when she...
And that's why you need Legal Eagle, okay? Because when you need a legal team, you need the Eagle team.
Brings your dinner down to the basement. Now, many of Emiru's fans have also urged her to sue Twitch for failing to protect her.
I love how much Legal Eagle bashes Emiru's fans, dude. Holy shit. Legal Eagle knows that they're all gooners, okay? They know that they're all degenerate, lifeless, unemployed losers in the basement, okay? Good. Remind them of how much of a loser they are.
And Emiru herself had some pretty scathing allegations against the company. But how much is Twitch actually liable for failing to protect her? Well, it depends. As Emiru's manager noted, Twitch was pretty negligent.
She's like, okay, I've been talking to Twitch people, and I'm really upset because I noticed a lot of negligence around the event, and I'm not happy with the way that they're handling it now.
Commenters on Reddit and Emiru's channel agreed. If I were Twitch CEO Dan Clancy, I would lawyer up now and prepare for a lawsuit, because it looks like Emiru has a pretty good case. Let's pull the video back and talk about why.
Does she?
So this is the first problem.
We'll see.
This guy just walked right past the line and no one stopped him. And here's the next problem. No one from event security intervenes once he's grabbed her. And the final problem, even after he grabs her, event security apparently just lets him walk away. Civil liability in this context centers around the question of whether the defendant had a duty to the plaintiff. Generally, people aren't legally required to protect others from harm caused by third parties, but there are exceptions. One is the special relationship rule. If a special relationship exists, a person or business might have a duty to protect someone from others' conduct. Courts often find this in situations like a shopping center, restaurant, or bar, and its customers or tenants. Because of this, business owners must take reasonable steps to keep common areas safe from likely criminal acts. One of the most important parts of this is foreseeability. If a criminal act is foreseeable, then the business has more responsibility to try and prevent.
Disney broke down the event. The dude circulated the perimeter of the room. You're not allowed to do that traditionally, right? If the event was trying to be kept safe, like I would imagine him to not be able to do something like that, right?
And as many people online have pointed out, Twitch had plenty of reasons to believe that Emiru might need some extra security. At a prior TwitchCon,
She isn't gonna sue Twitch? Okay.
Followed around by a fan who stalked her around the venue.
I mean, like, you can choose to maximize winnings, and maximizing winnings doesn't mean that you're going to go after the person who deserves it the most, right? Or sometimes it does.
And that's why her main security guard was banned, because he'd intervened on her behalf and muscled the little simp into the arms of police.
2 years ago, where there was a guy following me around TwitchCon, and he like asked him to stop multiple times. My guard asked him, and the guy wouldn't stop. So he grabbed the guy, but he didn't like hurt him. He was just holding the guy until like the con security came.
Also, kind of crazy that Twitch banned that guard forever, while at least according to Emiru, they only banned her attacker for 30 days. Also consider the fact that in March of this year, a stalker followed Emiru around and made death threats to Emiru and fellow streamers Valkyrae and Cinna on camera during a live streamed event. Because of this, several prominent streamers like Valkyrae,
people had to pass a background check for the meet and greet, but they were allowed a +1, and the dude that did it was a +1, and these dudes weren't required to do the background check? Wait, really? What the fuck? Wait, who is he a +1 of? Is everyone allowed a +1? Yeah. Jeez. Doesn't he realize that at each point where he could have intercepted, there was no security personnel to intercept free direct line? Well, yeah, I mean, the real implication is if anybody actually wanted to do something way worse than SA, right? Where there is one thing that is way worse is murder, right? Using a knife or using a sharp object that you can conceal in some form, that if going up and then going straight for the neck is possible. It's possible. It's pretty scary. That's pretty scary, dude. But,
Pokemon and Q.
I'm just saying, okay, especially when Destiny is so hated, if Destiny ever decides to visit someone at TwitchCon, all right, I'm just saying that, be careful, okay?
UT Cinderella has said they weren't sure they wanted to attend TwitchCon because they weren't sure they would be safe there. If a business knows about prior criminal activity, courts have said that the business needs to provide heightened security. So legally, Twitch ought to have known that she needed extra security and should have provided that. But courts generally weigh this foreseeability against the burden created by additional security measures. And hiring security guards is considered really burdensome because it's very expensive. So California courts don't usually require ordinary
object. Yeah, like I'm thinking about like a razor, just a razor blade. It's something as simple as a razor blade. You don't need anything fancy. Yeah. Spooky, isn't
to do that. At a large event like a convention, though, the crowd size and fame of the featured creators tips the balance in favor of requiring the event host to hire security. And as a lot of commenters noted, the parasocial relationships created by Twitch heightens the threat even more. Twitch's best defense is that it did hire security guards and screen the people in its meet and greet line. But as Emiru pointed out, the event security guards did nothing when she was attacked, and screening meant little when each meet and greet attendee was allowed to bring an unscreened +1. So even those measures were pretty lax. Twitch's guards let this guy just walk right up past the line of registered attendees. Then they did nothing when he grabbed her in front of a room full of people. The only person who acted was Emiru's own bodyguard, shoving the guy away from her.
Yes.
So I bet some of you might be wondering whether he could be liable for manhandling the goofy gooner. The honest answer is...
Okay, chill. I'm joking. The goofy gooner is crazy. The goofy... Really? Dude.
It depends. To review, for assault, there has to be an attempt to commit a violent injury on a person with the ability to follow through. And for battery, there must be a willful or unlawful use of force against a person. For Emiru, she has a strong case that she was the victim of both assault and battery. But what about the other guy? Let's watch that clip again. That looks like a pretty serious shove, but it also looks pretty justified. Remember, though, that Twitch banned Emiru's other bodyguard for forcibly restraining a rabid fan at a prior con. So maybe Twitch thinks this is the assault it needs to punish. This was definitely a use of force under California's battery statute. But under California law, like most jurisdictions, there are some scenarios where assault or battery is allowed, such as self-defense or defense of others. California's jury instructions for assault specifically state that if someone acts in self-defense or to defend a third party, that's not assault. The jury instructions for battery are similar, with one additional caveat. If someone uses force to defend themselves or another person, they can only use force that is reasonably necessary to defend against the danger. So Emiru's bodyguard couldn't say, pull out a gun and permaban the dude from this mortal coil. But shoving him away seems pretty reasonable under the circumstances.
Sure.
It was necessary to get the man to let go of her and back off, and it didn't cause any.
I have a friend, or had a friend, or have a friend that I haven't talked to in a while, who worked as a security guard, and you're not allowed to fight. You're not allowed to punch. You're not allowed to do a lot of things. Just mainly because as a security guard, you do not have the jurisdiction to do crazy shit like that, generally. Because I think that he said as a security guard, you could still be charged with assault or charged with other things for not following the rules close enough. So yeah, you better be careful. That's for sure. Perma banned this dude from his mortal coil. True.
Any injury. Some might credibly argue that more force would have been warranted. On the other hand, if he hadn't acted, could Emiru's bodyguard, like Twitch, be liable for failing to protect her? An ordinary bystander wouldn't typically be liable for failing to intervene in this situation, but a bodyguard might, because bodyguards have a higher duty of care than the average person does. They've been specifically hired to protect that person. So if they fail to do that, then they're not just bad at their job, they're also potentially civilly liable. This generally means that security guards have to use reasonable care and attention to protect people and property, act responsibly, and help keep the environment safe. From the video, it's pretty clear that Emiru was being attacked. As Emiru noted in her public statement, she screamed loudly. Any reasonable bodyguard should have interpreted this as a situation where they needed to intervene, just like her bodyguard did. It was his job to protect her, especially against such an obvious threat. If he hadn't acted, especially since he was standing so close, he also could have been liable. So Emiru's bodyguard is probably in the clear. He did his job. But still, probably a good idea for him to lawyer up, just in case. Lawyers need work in this economy. Twitch, if you believe them, are also taking...
Yeah, but I feel like being a lawyer is perfectly fine. It's always a thriving field. Being a lawyer is always a thriving field. There's always someone that needs... There's always some bum, okay?
The situation seriously and have promised to do a full investigation and review their security standards and practices accordingly. And Emiru's got a long road ahead to fully resolve the TwitchCon situation, but it wouldn't surprise...
Zord, welcome to Tier 2. Thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate that.
Surprise me if she decides to bring...
I work in security as wild. You can do more in the Netherlands than the US. Yeah, I could imagine.
...suit against Twitch. This was, after all, her last TwitchCon ever, as she proclaimed during the fallout.
Regardless, like I said, I'm done with going to TwitchCon. Probably done entirely with convention streams. I feel like it's just time, you know. And I think that's probably true for a lot of streamers. The climate has, you know, really changed.
And who knows? Maybe we'll all be treated to the surreal sight of Iron Mouse taking the witness stand. But there's just one more thing to address, because in all the fallout of this, something else came out. In her October 25th video, Emiru talked more about the TwitchCon attack, but she also made some other quite serious accusations against her ex-boyfriend, fellow streamer and OTK owner, Mizkif.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing.
Fans have long speculated that these two dated each other, and it turns out that they did, and it was a total mess. In her video statement, Emiru claimed that she had already talked to a lawyer. Good for you, Emiru. This is one of the most important steps for anyone in an awful situation like this. She accused Mizkif of engaging in a bunch of scary behaviors, including sexually assaulting her one night on her couch when she was crying and he put her hands down her pants. Let's pause on that incident for a second. This took place in Texas, so the law is a little different from California. In Texas, the relevant statutes are Texas Penal Code sections 22.011 and 22.012. Section 22.011, sexual assault, requires penetration, but section 22.012, indecent assault, can just be a touch to an intimate part without someone's consent. It's gross that we even have to talk about this, but unfortunately, this is the world we live in. Like California, Texas specifies what is considered an intimate body part. Putting a hand down someone's pants would definitely qualify as indecent assault under section 22.012. And Texas's 10-year statute of limitations for indecent assault shouldn't be a problem. So if she wants to make a police report, she can. And she could also follow up with a civil suit, which again requires a lower standard of proof. Emiru also made a variety of other accusations, that he manipulated her, screamed at her, threatened her staff, and threatened to engage in some kind of weird smear campaign claiming that she was murdering her own pet rabbits. In a response video, he admitted that he was controlling, but denied most of the rest of it.
In regards to being controlling, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole, stop talking about past relationships, and yes, I didn't want her to travel without me.
He also claims that, quote, I'm ashamed that the situation got so bad, but Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me.
Dude, that was legitimately one of the worst fucking responses I have ever heard ever.
And I'd punch holes in the wall or slam doors in aggression, which kind of seems ridiculous, to be honest, especially in the face of serious sexual assault allegations. But technically, and I'm going to stress technically, throwing a stuffed animal at someone could qualify as assault under Texas law. In Texas, a person commits assault if a person intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly causes bodily injury to another, including the person's spouse. Intentionally or knowingly.
Can you imagine a world where Emiru gets sued and Mizkif wins the case, but Mizkif still loses everything and his career and his audience? Bro, I can totally imagine a scenario like that. Jesus Christ.
He threatens another with imminent bodily injury, including the person's spouse, or intentionally or knowingly causes physical contact with another when the person knows or should reasonably believe that the other will regard the contact as offensive or provocative. Why that third clause doesn't specifically include the person's spouse, I don't know, but that's Texas law. So okay, again, technically, throwing a stuffed animal at someone could be assault in Texas if it makes contact and it's offensive or provocative. But come on, I cannot imagine a prosecutor charging that ever, even in Texas. Also, I'm gonna hazard a guess that these were Kirby plushies, which is sad. Kirby didn't want any of this. Interestingly, Mizkif's admission to punching holes in the wall could also be assault. It depends on how close he was to her and whether under the circumstances it could be proved that it constituted a knowing threat of imminent bodily injury. These are important details that police and prosecutors would look at during a criminal investigation, or lawyers during discovery if it's a civil suit. But the next obvious question is whether she should be worried that he'll countersue her for defamation. Since she says she's already talked to a lawyer, she's probably made sure that she has her bases covered on this one, but in short, if her accusations are true, that is a total defense against defamation. She claimed to have receipts, and even showed a long list of crazy texts from him during her stream. Also, since he's a public figure...
Right. I think all a defendant needs to do to protect themselves from defamation is to create enough plausible deniability. I think that if the answer is a maybe, I don't think you can go after someone for defamation, right? Like, if the answer is a maybe on whether or not they did it maliciously or they were just simply stupid or they actually believed it, because I'm pretty sure the standards for defamation is extremely high, right? The standards for defamation usually in all the states are extremely high. Just simply because of the First Amendment, right? Because the First Amendment says that you can say whatever the fuck you want. But then if you're actually defaming someone, it's almost as if it's kind of like infringing upon the First Amendment in some way, right? So I would imagine that like the standard is not only very high, but it's high on purpose, as to not try to stomp on it, right? But yeah.
That will make it harder for him to make any kind of defamation claim because, generally speaking, public figures have to prove that the statement was not only false, but that the person who said it was acting with malice. That's a pretty high standard, brought to you by the...
For Mizkif's losses too, those would be evidence to prove that he lost from being defamed. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs, but all I've heard at the very least is like the defamation standards being very, very high. Yeah. For public figures, is another level where you have to knowingly lied and said those lies with malice to protect the person. Yeah, I would imagine Emiru to be pretty safe from the lawsuit. like even without looking at the lawsuit itself, I would imagine that the Emiru probably did sincerely believed in the things that she has pressed against Mizkif. It sounds like she is already adequately prepared, in the sense that she has prepared a lawyer beforehand. Like she's passed along that public statement on purpose to a lawyer just to make sure it's like legally fair and sound, right? So she is basically like taking every step possible to be as careful as possible. And honestly, you just can't really ask for more, you know? Like in terms of coming out with an allegation and protecting yourself against defamation. It sounds like she's doing everything that she could. So yeah, good luck, I guess.
First Amendment. So Emiru is probably in the clear on any kind of defamation counterclaims. And she might have some valid criminal or civil claims against Mizkif if she decides to pursue them. But she should probably keep chat out of the loop until the matter is litigated or resolved. So we can only hope things get better for Emiru soon, and that Twitch makes some serious changes to its safety protocols. Because, unfortunately, chat has an increasingly long history of not being very poggers about obeying the law.
Thank you, Scout Al.
Okay.
For that analysis. And if you watching at home are accosted by a fan or get into an auto accident or suffer a personal injury, I do know a great lawyer. Now, after I started this channel, every week I'd get hundreds of comments and emails from viewers who are dealing with legal problems. And they'd ask, can you help me find a lawyer? How do I know if this attorney is any good? And there's a massive gap in our justice system. It's that people don't know how to find the right lawyer for their specific situation. They're scared, they're overwhelmed, and they end up doing nothing or hiring the first attorney who calls them back. And that really bothered me. So I started to wonder, what if there was a different way? What if we could build a law firm that actually lived up to the values that I talk about on this channel? Transparency, accessibility, and putting clients...
Dude, not these people whose hair is literally graying, saying that's not very poggers, bro. Oh my god. That's just
first,
great.
instead of chasing
Great
billable
stuff,
hours.
okay.
A firm where you don't need to pay anything up front, and your lawyers only get paid if you do, to maximize your opportunity for justice. So a few years ago, I decided to fix that problem. I decided to start my own personal injury law firm. And honestly, it wasn't an easy choice. But I realized I was in this unique position. I had this platform, this community, and the experience. Not to get rich, trust me, there are easier ways to make money than starting a law practice. But we did it because access to justice shouldn't be a luxury. Because finding the right legal representation shouldn't feel like playing Russian roulette with your future. And when you work with my firm, you're not just getting a lawyer. You're getting a team that understands that behind every case is a real person with real stakes. If we can't represent you, or you're in a state where we don't practice, we'll take the time to try to match you with an attorney in my personal network of lawyers. A national network of some of the best lawyers in the country who actually specialize in what you're going through, located right where you are, not just whoever happens to be available. So if you're dealing with a personal injury, a car crash, a data breach, sexual harassment, a social security or workers' comp issue, give us a call at the number on screen or click on the link below. Now, I can't represent everyone that watches this channel. I wish I could, but what I can do is make sure that when you need legal help, you have somewhere to turn to that you can trust. So whether it's me handling your case or the incredible attorneys we partnered with, you'll get the same principles of honesty and education that we bring to every video. And if you're dealing with a legal issue and you're not...
Oh no! The 3-month label does not refer to 3 months of wear days only. Rather, it means that once the package is opened, you should replace them after 3 months, regardless of how many days you actually use them. Oh, okay. All right. The brand's own blog explains that for monthly lenses, 30-day replacement, the rule is to replace after 30 days, even if you only wore them a few times. On long wear type lenses, time still has a limit because the lens material and solution degrade over time. Oh. Ooh, it's because it could degrade over time. Ah, I see. Okay, I'll probably just buy one more pair then. I would say.
Sure,
I'll let him finish. I'll let him finish his ad because I think he deserves it. You know, these are high quality videos. So
start, check out the link in the description. Let's have a conversation about how we can help you find not just a lawyer, but the right lawyer for your situation. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Making sure that when life gets complicated, you don't have to face it alone. Which is why when you need a lawyer, you don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle team.
Cool. Awesome. Epic. All right. With that, I believe that's the end of the stream. Is there any questions? I'm gonna... just a reminder, to subscribe to my second channel, Snack Markets. Okay. You can find it in the description below, I believe. But if you can't find it in the description below, just go to my main channel page and you can find a link that leads directly to Snack Markets. It can also be found here, okay? But in addition, you guys should also join my Discord server, okay? It's discord.gg/foodshops. And we have a wonderful community there. So you should join us. And yeah, just hang out there, okay, with me. Can I go to the bathroom? Of course you can. No, you can't. No, of course you can. Went off on DG clips for that thumbnail. Oh, yeah, dude. Why was I done so dirty? Why was I done so dirty? Hello? Bro, this is so crazy. I feel like the art behind this is like inherently transphobic. It has to be. Like I feel like this has to be transphobic or racist in some way? Hello? Bro, this is like some anti-fan type shit, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, again, what the fuck, dude? Jesus. Yeah, they did me hella dirty. I don't look like this at all. What the Bro. Who did the thumbnail? I mean, I don't think this person is employed by Steven. This is done by Destiny DG Clips, who is just a fan channel. But I'm guessing this person really hates me. Jesus Christ. Did they make you Native American? No, they just... I don't know, they made my eyes smaller. They made my eyes smaller. What the... Bro. No, it is AI. This is 100% AI. Of course it's AI, yeah. But they made my eyes smaller and, like... Jesus. Oh my god. Like, I think this might be racist. What the... Crazy. But yeah, good one. Yeah, Jesus. It's gotta be... No, it is AI. Okay, stop. It's straight up AI slop. It is AI slop, okay? Not that there's any reason to it, like, being... It's not bad to have AI slop, but it is bad because it's fucking weird. It's a fucking weird ass thumbnail. Stop. I feel weird. It feels weird, man. Yeah. Like, I just feel weird. Like, I was like, what the fuck, dude? Anyway. Okay. Well. It was a fire debate? Yeah, I had 2 debates now. Okay. Alright. Good night. Farewell. Good on the Democrats for winning. Okay. Good. This is the way it should be, okay? Look at my glossy hair. Look how pretty it is, okay? But someone signed off on it, that's bad enough. On God.